Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's an author, entrepreneur, as well as a fellow podcaster, no other than Mr. Trevor G. Welcome, Mr. Trevor, an abstract essay, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate being invited. As you said, I'm an entrepreneur, best-selling author, both books and screenplays. And I think if I was to describe myself, it would be an avid reader. Books have saved my life. I grew up poor. I ended up reading hundreds of biographies, and I realized that there's a way out of that. And I found the way out, and those are the 3 simple steps. So I basically relocated or copied the patterns of behavior in all of the heroes I read about in all of those biographies, applied them to my own life, changed from a life that other people would describe as struggle, but I wasn't unhappy. I was just struggling a bit. And then had a tremendous adventure, not just in business, but also in relationships and in health. So I feel very blessed. I decided to get into this genre, the self-help personal development, as a way of giving back, because my mum always told me do the right thing no matter what, but also because I've probably read every self-help book out there, and most of them have left me kind of blah, sort of they make me feel good about the life I'm living, but I want a better life. I want some tools and techniques that work. So after I sold my first company, which I started in 2003 for a few $100s, sold it in 2009 for 105 million. I decided it was time to do that. And so I've been writing and teaching and coaching ever since, whilst also building other companies. Once you get a formula that's successful, you just keep repeating it, but also it's useful to share it. So that's what we're doing.
Interesting, Mr. Trevor G. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the 3 simple steps to balance life. Tell us, the term work-life balance is often used but rarely defined. How do you personally define a balanced life, and why is it more nuanced and than just a splitting time event?
So I have friends, fellow successful entrepreneurs, they would call themselves, who believe that hustle is the way to succeed. And I think you can succeed with hustle, but typically it causes burnout. My friends are on their 3rd marriages. The dogs don't recognize them. They're not happy. They're taking things to help them cope, whether that's drugs or alcohol or whatever. But they're still, by the way the world judges success, they're successful. I've never wanted that because I'm basically a lazy guy. And I also got very lucky meeting an amazing woman when I was 20 years old and was married for 38 years before she died. I'm in my next relationship, and we're 3 years into that. And so I consider a balanced life to be able to compartmentalize the times when I'm on business. So I switch on and off. So I have a program which I produced for COVID. It's free and it's available on my website, trevorgblake.com. And it's the practical magic of the 5-hour workday. And it's about getting the balance right. It's about getting the balance between trying to crack a problem and then stepping away from that and having those magic moments when we go for a walk in the woods, or we go for a bath or a shower, or we just kind of switch off for a while. And a lot of people have forgotten the value of switching off. And so one of my messages is to structure a day around switching on and switching off. And that gives you the balance whereby your family still love you. They still remember who you are. And that's really important, for me anyway. That's always been very important. I do have a lot of people contact me and say, the relationships are all messed up, and it's not hard to see why. We all get caught up in the hustle mentality in certain countries in the world. So if there are tools and techniques that can help, and modern technology provides them all, so you don't have to create anything or do anything. It's all there, ready, available. If you just go to trevorgblake.com, there's a bunch of free tools on there that can change your life tomorrow. And it's just about structuring the balance between trying to make it and being. So it's the balance between doing and being, basically. Getting that right makes the magic happen. And if I can do it, then I know everyone's heard this before from a lot of people, but if I can do it, then anyone can do it. And that's all I'm trying to do, is share that there's a different way of doing it. If you prefer the hustle, good luck, good for you. But if you want a balanced life, there's a different way of playing with the energy that we're all part of.
In a world of overwhelming advice, why simplicity the key to actually achieving balance rather than a complex system?
So I think especially today, I feel that everybody values complexity more than simplicity. And a lot of people will spend more time on their iPhone than they will walking in the woods with the iPhone on airplane mode. But everything in the universe is made of energy. It's an irrefutable scientific fact. I'm a physicist by training. That's my education, and so I'm fascinated by the topic of how do things work and why. And so I found that the ability to connect with energy is extremely valuable. That's where I get all my ideas from. I've never created an idea sat at a laptop. I've created all my ideas have come to me out of the blue, and then I've slapped my head and said, "Why didn't I think of that before?" And that's always happened when I'm in a space where I allow myself to connect. And I don't just mean my brain, because a lot of people live in a brain forward way. I mean connecting my brain and my heart and my solar plexus, because they're actually connected physically, scientifically, all together. The heart sends more messages to the brain than the other way around. So if we're able to get that balance right between thinking and feeling and an intuition, then we're able to go into spaces where we can connect. And when we connect, we have access to all of the knowledge that's available in the universe. Now, that sounds incredibly new age, and it's not new. It's been talked about by sages for hundreds of years. But it's scientifically proven now that between the atoms, there's no empty space. There's an energy field. And it goes right through the universe from the beginning of time, as we understand time, to as far as we can even imagine. And so if we're able to find ourselves in a space where we can use some simple tools and techniques to project ourselves into that energy field and connect, that's where we get the magic. That's where Trevor G Blake comes from. That's where my companies come from. That's where my transformation course comes from being in a space where I allow myself to be open to new ways of thinking and new ways of being.
What are the most common signs you see that someone is living an imbalanced life, even they might not recognize it themselves?
They don't smile a lot. That's the
True.
number one thing. I mean, you smile. We've just met each other the very first time right now, but we start off. We're smiling, right? We're happy. We're balanced. We feel life is good, and it should be. And even though sometimes I can feel guilty for, I think, what did I do to deserve this? But then I realized that I studied really hard to understand what makes success in the interpretation of people through time and different industries, and then adopt those techniques, and without knowing really what I was doing, find, wow, I'm waking up in the morning really excited about the day ahead, and my sense of humor has come back, and I'm not worried about having to pay electricity bill. And so I meet a lot of people who are not yet blessed to be in that position, and the fact that they worry so much about those things means that they don't smile as much as they were created to do. So they're not living a life of, some people call a life of joy. So I can spot people, immediately, head down, typically hiding on this phone. The world is in here now for them, but that's hiding from the world. And yeah, head down, shoulders slumped, and not smiling. And one of the techniques we use in the transformation experience, and if you're interested, it's at trevorgblake.com, is the thing called the grocery store challenge, where we will go into a space and we'll find someone like that, and then we'll go and lift them up. And the way we lift them up is, we'll use their name, we'll ask them for an opinion, for some advice, make them feel seen, make them feel important. And then we get to feel what that does to their energy. And then we get also, because energy is always resonant. A lot of people don't understand that. They think that energy is something to go grab. But actually, energy bounces back from a scientific perspective. So if we live in a world where it's no longer about what's in it for me. The world was like that for a long time. The world is really about how do I contribute now. So when we find ways to say, okay, if I contribute, that's what I'm doing, that's what you're doing. You've been doing this for a long time. You're contributing. And so when you contribute, you get to meet people who lift you up too. And your business grows and your life becomes more balanced, and you wake up in the morning, just can't wait to jump out of bed and get on with the day because you have no idea what's coming next. That's for me is where I want to try and help people to get to, where they just feel that sense of awe that they probably haven't felt since they were 5 or 6 years old. And you can spot it everywhere.
Mr. Trevor, what is the first of the three steps, and why must it become before the others? Is it a mindset shift, a practical action, or an assessment?
No, it's a practical. So it's mentality control, and there's a lot of coaches and self-help gurus that talk about mentality, but they don't understand it from a scientific perspective, which is fine. So I'm offering a different perspective for those who are interested in a more factual, pragmatic, tool-based approach to having the life of your dreams. And so a, a lot of those gurus will say, "Oh, mentality is about positive thinking," but scientifically, positive thinking is actually baloney. It's not possible because it takes 500 milliseconds to form a thought. So, although it sounds like a subtle difference, we are actually, as humans, we're feeling creatures who then have a thought. So, we're feeling creatures who think, not thinking creatures who then feel, which is the way that most self help personal development people teach. And it was backwards, it's 180-degree wrong. So, when we know that we're feeling people who think, then if we control the sensory inputs that we have that make us feel something, so that we maybe reduce the amount of time we spend watching sensational and fearful news headlines, or we reduce the amount of time we get caught up with the complainers at work. If we reduce that a little bit and we start to give ourselves something that's in our benefit, that helps us, that makes us think in a different way, then we start to produce different thoughts and different words, even without trying, without even thinking of something nonsense like positive thinking or affirmations. But we automatically step into a space where our mentality becomes more for what we want and less about what we don't want. And the reason that's so important is that we get whatever we think about. So if we're focusing on what we don't have or what we fear, like our credit card statement or a relationship that's always breaking up and things like that, if we focus on what's wrong, we get more and more of that. It's just the way the brain works. So in the back of our neck here, we have a little group of cells called a reticular activation system. And it's like a Google algorithm, keeps us in a loop and gives us more of what we pay attention to. Has no emotion, it just keeps giving it to us. So if all we do is keep focusing on what's wrong, we end up getting more reasons to focus on what's wrong. So when we change our mentality with a few very simple tools and techniques that are a lot of fun, have it makes everybody laugh and everyone enjoys doing them. When we focus on those new tools, we have a few moments where we don't do that and we start to focus on what we really want, what we would want for us in life. And then it just lifts us up in a different way and we start to see huge changes in our lives in ways we don't expect. So we become more confident. That's really important for success. So all of the studies on success that I've read say the two main things are self-confidence and a tendency to set big targets. So if we can put ourselves in a position where we raise our confidence, we're already putting ourselves on a winning path. The target comes in step 3, but we can talk about that after.
Mr. Trevor, do your steps involve identifying personal or non negotiables, the things that must be protected to feel balanced? How does someone determine what those are?
Well, nobody. So the tendency when we talk about these things is to give the impression that people need to become saint-like, and that's not true at all. So what I found in my life, because I'm as flawed as anybody, and I can't speak for you, Daniel, because I don't know you, but I mess up all the time. I have fearful thoughts all the time. I have. Uh, Am I worthy to try this new business venture? I'm not qualified. I have all of those thoughts that everybody else has. Do I have enough capital to pull this off, right? So I have all those thoughts, but I know that I also have some tools and techniques that if I just use them every now and again, it changes all of that, and the road bumps that I think I'm facing go away. So it's not that anybody has to, there's nothing more annoying than meeting someone who's smiling all the time or someone who's really happy first thing in the morning before the first coffee. it's not about that. It's about recognizing when we have self-harming or self-sabotaging moments, and then just stepping back, just giving ourselves a bit of time and saying, that's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up for worrying about something. I'm just going to change my reaction to that now. And so mentality control is really not about how we think. Mentality control is about how we react to what we just thought. And that's a huge difference. It's a life-changing but subtle thought process for most people. And it's not the easiest thing to do. And I mess up all the time. And I've been doing this for 40 years. But what I find with the masterminds I have and the people who have gone through the transformation experience is if they just make a few changes, just catch themselves every now and again, it changes everything. And that's that should give us confidence that we don't have to be. People would look at me and say, "Oh, he's got he's on his seventh company. He knows what he's doing." No, I never know what I'm doing. So I use the tools and techniques myself to help me get over those self-limiting thoughts.
Mr. Trevor, does your approach focus more on managing energy rather than time? If so, how can someone audit and replenish their energy sources?
So, not to get too technical for the time that we have, but there is actually no such thing as energy. It doesn't exist. And it's a shock to most people when you say that. The universe is in a state of constant change. We're born, we live, we die. A seed sprouts, it grows, autumn comes, the leaves fall off. So a whole universe that we live in is in a constant state of change. When we decide as scientists to take a snapshot of that, a bit like somebody saying, I'm taking a selfie, we call it energy. But just like a selfie doesn't represent the person that just spent time taking the picture of themselves, so when we look at energy, it doesn't represent energy. So rather than thinking about, so energy isn't something that you can increase or decrease. The laws of energy are quite explicit. You can go back to Einstein or anybody you want to get the laws of energy. And the laws of energy state that it can neither be created nor destroyed, which means it also can't be collected. It can only be changed from one form into another form. And that's really key information for everybody. So instead of thinking about raising energy, which a lot of snake oil people will talk about in this business, the self-help business, instead of saying about raising vibration or raising energy, it's nonsense. It doesn't work like that. Energy goes in phases. So what we have to do is find a way of playing with it in a different way. And that's going back to what I was talking about mentality. If we think of fun words and fun thoughts and we play with the energy in a different way, we end up getting a different result. So rather than thinking of energy as something to collect, that's the worst thing you can do, by the way, that it stagnates. A good example would be money. Money is an energy. We convert it from one form into another form. If we hold on to it, it disappears eventually. We lose it. And so everything in life is like that. Relationships are the same. If we let a relationship's energy flow, we have a fun time. If we try to hold on to that and suppress it and desperately afraid to let it go, eventually it goes. So it's just learning to play with it in a different way. Alan Watts said one time famously that all of life is simply a playing of energy. And I've found that to be true in my life.
Very well said, Mr. Trevor. Very well said. And what is the biggest misconception or myth about achieving balance that you want to debunk?
There's a truth in life that the less we try, the more we win, the more we get. But it's very hard for us as humans, especially in the Western world, to stop trying, to stop fighting, to stop chasing. So let's say somebody says, "Well, I keep having terrible relationships." And then what do they do? Do they relax and sit back and wait for someone to show up? Or do they go and get a Tinder profile and they start chasing again and start chasing and swiping? And I actually don't know what any of that means, by the way. This is what people tell me. I don't know if you swipe left or right, if you like or don't like. But people say, so they go on a Tinder and they try really hard to get something. They chase it. And it's not a terribly successful way of achieving balance. It's exhausting and everyone gets burned out, whether it's relationships or business or finance or anything else. So one of the secrets, and it's not easy and it takes practice, and there's tools and techniques I've got at trevorgblake.com that you can learn to give yourself some times during the day where you can sit back, observe, and spend a little more time letting go, not doing anything, just being for a few moments, for a few minutes, and then eventually it becomes a bit addictive, and the minutes become 30 minutes, and the 30 minutes becomes an hour. And so I actually populate my day that way. So the letting go and not trying is one of the secret sources to trevorgblake.com, but anybody who's been through the transformation experience. It's something that requires tools and techniques. It's easy to talk about, but you won't get anything in self-help, personal development, or the desire to be quote unquote successful. You won't get anything without doing the work. There's an awful lot of ideas out there that the secret is to sit around and do nothing. Law of attraction, which isn't a law, it's just an idea, it's ideology. It gives the impression that if we just have a big goal and we sit back and do nothing, it'll come and find us. And I don't think anyone's ever experienced that. What I tell people is that there's some tools and techniques that are based on science that work, but you do have to actually do them. And one of those is having the discipline to treat letting go and not chasing with the same dedication that you previously used for actually chasing. So if we schedule our day, I will my 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what I do absolutely what other people would look at me and say he's doing nothing. This is my time for letting go, and I treat it with the same discipline as if I had a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. You cannot interrupt me during that 2 hour period, and so that's one of the secrets is to have the discipline to actually do the work. Think about it this way: if you had a chronic problem and you went to the doctor gave you a prescription, you take the pill starts working immediately, and you don't question it because you trust the doctor. And the doctor says, "Come back in 6 months and let's see what's changed." Well, we all accept that and we do it. We take the pill every day, even though we don't see immediate changes. With self-help, people tend to take their pill, which could be a book or a course or a webinar or something like that. And if they don't become a multimillionaire in 3 days, they throw it in the trash can. We don't have the staying power for self-help. What I'm trying to do, my little niche here is to say, okay, I've got some tools and techniques that you can use tomorrow that will change your life immediately, and you'll feel it, and it'll give you the confidence to keep doing it. And once you keep doing it and it becomes a habit, it ceases to be a tool and technique. It becomes a way of life, a habit. And that's the balance.
Truly, truly balanced, Mr. Trevor. And what is the one powerful question people can ask themselves to instantly gauge the current level of balance?
That's a brilliant question. Do I feel happier and more excited today than I did yesterday? And the answer to that is so important. And so that's true of everything. It's certainly true in relationships. So I always say to people, I'm very blessed because Jess, my wife, makes me want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. That's balance. So if you feel like yesterday is the same as today and tomorrow is going to be the same as today, and it makes you feel heavy and almost depressed, and you want to escape it or numb yourself from it, then you don't have balance, because balance fills you with two real things that are actually they're scientific things, but when we use the English words, that makes them sound a bit new age. But when we're balanced, we have a constant sense of awe, and awe means perceptual vastness. It's almost like multidimensional, and so we feel almost immortal. And when we get to that sense of awe, and there's tools and techniques to get there, when we get that feeling and that sense of awe, it creates an automatic energy exchange, and the energy flows in the direction we want it, so the direction we don't want. And so there's a step-by-step process to get to that. So the question is, am I balanced or not balanced? The question is, am I more excited about tomorrow? Do I want to be a better person tomorrow than I do today? When the answer to that is yes, that fills you with awe. You can't wait. And when you're filled with awe, the flow happens, and that's where the balance comes in. That's where we get the right mixture between doing and being, and the right mixture between getting ideas coming to us or chasing the ideas.
Mr. Trevor, tell us what is all about your podcast. Explore our insight and inspirational podcasts.
So I have something that's different because I always like to be a bit different, and maybe I'm a bit different because I'm always trying to fix things. So I'm a guest on podcasts more than I have my own podcast. I have three podcasts. I'll tell you a little bit about them. But I'm a guest. This is probably my 300th podcast in the last few years since I launched TrevorGBlake.com. At TrevorGBlake.com, we have a sequence. So there is a mastermind. It has its own podcast where we get into the really technical details and really these are people who are already magicians in their own right, already hugely successful, but they're looking for that balance. They're looking for something a little extra, sometimes the sense of fulfillment. And so that's a particular podcast. Then I have a guild, which is a group of people who've gone through the transformation experience who want to hang out together to share best practices. So there's a podcast for that. And then I have the transformation experience itself, which is different. It's a multi-dimensional podcast. So it's a multimedia, I should say, not multi-dimensional. Well, it's actually both. But it's a multimedia podcast whereby we have the learning, we have the validation from experts in video format, we have audio, and we have the physical experience of learning to play with energy. And there's nothing else like it out there. I'm very proud of it. It's many years in the making. And the one thing about it is it's life-changing for everyone. It doesn't pick people to be successful with and leave other people behind. It's based on science, and science is based on fact. So anyone who gets into transformation experience has a life-changing experience. And I'm tremendously proud of that, but also inspired by it because some of the stories, I'm the guy that has the story. I grew up poor, like everyone says. It's true in my case. My dad was unemployed and unemployable, and my mum was dying of cancer. So to go from that set of circumstances to this set requires a change in thinking, a change in doing, a change in being. A lot of the people that come into transformation experience have had even worse and more difficult starts than that, and have gone on to achieve even better things than I have. And I'm very proud of all of that.
And we are proud of you, Mr. Trevor. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people, because my Abstract Essay is already in 5th season, Abstract Poetry in 2nd season, and my Book 101 review in 5th season too, Comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my Food 101 in 5th season as well, Geography 101 in 4th season, and my Baby Podcast Law 101, and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in the 3rd season, and Movie 101 Review, Music 101 in 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 1st season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Trevor, if someone successfully implements these three steps, what is the ultimate outcome? Is it peace, presence, productivity, or something else entirely?
It's a sequence. So first of all is to feel the joy of being debt free, which is really new to a lot of people because we live in a world where people just get swamped in debt. So that first movement of, oh my goodness, I'm debt free for the first time I can possibly remember, is very important. And then to find out, what do you actually want for you? That's a tough one, and that takes a while and a few tools and techniques. And then when we figure that out, then the ultimate thing is to use the tools and techniques, therefore, to set up what I call intention setting. It's a science. It's based on a formula. And then we set this big target that's really just for you because it's no one else is you. And so you set your big target, your dream. And then we have a special tool and technique called mini mind movies, whereby we crush time, the illusion of time, use the connection of the Higgs field, that energy field I talked about earlier, in order to bring it to us. It's not that it just shows up out of the blue. It's that it shines out in front of us, and we're able to go find it, bring it to us. And so the ultimate experience is to wake up in the morning so excited about the day ahead, even when you don't know what the day is going to be like.
Well said, Mr. Trevor. Very well said, and truly, truly empowering. And Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
So everything's at trevorgblake.com. I still have several companies that I work on, but from this aspect, trevorgblake.com. It's a rabbit hole. There's lots of freebies. I don't need the money. All my proceeds go to cancer research and development. So just drop down the rabbit hole and see what works for you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Trevor G. Blake, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Trevor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Moticon people, see you soon.